If Cabot were a novel, it'd be about coming of age. Cabot Exterior Stain protects the true character of wood for beauty that lasts. Cabot, trusted by pros for over 140 years. Available at a retailer near you.
You're a hero, man. Yes, you are. You are a hero. All right, moving on here. And who else do we got? John Hinojosa, welcome back. And the stunning Stephanie Jackson. Gorgeous Larry Schulte is here. And who else? The lovely Sonia's News. How are you, my friend? And that's it. We're caught up. We're caught up. Super Chat is open. Great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. Simon from Australia, good to see you, man. We are 30 seconds away. Do some shopping at the Spaced Out Radio store on our website. It's a great way to support what we do on this show as well. And, hey, there's Bill WD-40 over in Spreakerland. How you doing, Bill WD-40? We got like 10 seconds. Then we're going to rock it. Yeah. Yeah, what the hell. Let's do it. Let's get our horns up, shall we? Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Our Keith Andrews and special guest Nicole Sackich are here for the ET Connection. Yes, it is time to board the Woo Train. The Woo Train. Yes, it is. Okay, then we got a great story from the Swamp tonight, courtesy of Swamp Dweller, and the fedora-wearing John Hudson is loaded up for a great night of UFO news, especially some coming out of Canada right here. Now, our Keith Andrews is a good friend of this show. He's been doing this segment for about the last 6.5, almost 7 years. He's a good friend. He's a great person. And, of course, the conductor of the Woo Train. Now, on this show, it's very audience-oriented. We will take your questions in capital letters if you are in one of our chat rooms, especially on YouTube or Spreaker. And, of course, we'll get to your questions about anything to do with ET contact. Keith is a lifelong experiencer who now helps counsel those who have had their own run-ins with extraterrestrials and supernatural phenomena. Also joining us tonight is Nicole Sackich. She's an author, researcher, part of the Spaced Out Radio team on the business end of everything. And, of course, we're going to start off with Nicole right now. And, Nicole, it's always a pleasure to have you here on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing?
Horns up. I'm doing so good. This has been such a fabulous last couple of weeks, honestly. So I'm happy to round out the awesomeness by joining you and Keith. You know, it's always special for me. I know I miss some in a row sometimes, but I love it. You know, our Keith and I have come a long way.
I want to ask you because, you know, as you know, and everybody who listens to this knows that Keith is quite the eclectic dude. And yet he's got a heart of gold. And you know what? There are a lot of people out there who will say, oh, why do you believe him? Why do you go down the woo train with him, man? Why do you take it on?
Do you remember when you first asked me? And I was like, oh, man. And honestly, this was like a gap in my SOR fandom. There were certain nights at that time where I just didn't tune in very often. And then I just did the surface dive and was like, what woo hat are you asking me to put on? Like, I had to like readjust, like, okay, how am I going to sit in on this? Because, I was diving into kind of this pond that had already been established. And I don't know, I went through about 4 Fridays probably where when we wrapped the show, I stood up on my chair and wiped my brain up off the ceiling. But true to form, with anybody that I like to dive into rabbit holes with, I started a notebook. I follow along with what he says. I tune into his whatever he has out there in the world. And, you start seeing patterns and you start seeing all of his knowledge and experience shine through, even if you can't believe every single fascinating story, because it is hard to wrap your brain around it. But I thank God that I was fresh out of Grant Cameron Woo School boot camp, So I felt like I had the tools to, follow along with you guys and become part of this. So it's just fun. It feels like coming home now, where it felt like out of this world before. And now it's like, I'll pull my couch up on this UFO. It's fine.
Oh, man. There's just a lot of people.
No Lyran's welcome.
Yeah, no Lyran's welcome. I have had a number of people over the years as we wait for Keith. Keith is actually on shift at his job until 10 o'clock, and he works from home. And so he is on a business call right now, and that's what we're waiting for him to get through. And that's why we're kind of just shooting the gab here. But I remember, there was about 1 year there through the whole thing where I was literally getting the rudest messages from people privately. How could you have that R. Keith Andrews on the air? How could you sit there and let him lie to your audience like that? And I started getting real defensive of him, and Keith is a guy who has literally lived his entire lifetime in a bubble because he's been bullied, he's been pushed around, and he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Yet here he is. He has his way to help society, which is those who have ET contact, and we're glad to bring him in right now, Mr. R. Keith Andrews. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not bad. Just trying to kill off the background here. There we go.
Absolutely.
How are we?
We're great. We're excited to have you here, as per usual, on the ET Connection.
See, he calls me Nick now. That's how I know. Like I'm on the craft.
Well, we got to somehow convince our Keith Andrews next year to come down to the Las Vegas fan party, because there were a lot of people this year asking if Keith was coming down.
Well, I'll tell you what. You talk to the government and make it possible for me to get across the border without getting vaccinated, I'll go.
See, it's coming to these borders, man. Our tribe runs with the oneness, and we're divided by lines that don't make sense.
It's a simple issue to me. They've never made a vaccine that works on me properly anyway.
Well, Keith,
and I didn't have that thing.
Keith, without diving too far into the reasons, our friend Dave here, he brings governments together. Did you hear about this news earlier?
No. Ignore the news.
Our buddy right here brings governments to the table. It's a fact. Yep.
Have a happy with that one.
Happen. So I'm not saying that could happen, but you never know what could happen when Dave Scott puts his mind to something. And works his network and sources, and
well, it's certainly nothing
for a while.
It's certainly nothing against going down there. It's a problem with the fact that, for me personally, I don't agree with the vaccine.
There's lots of Canadians and people in other countries that are just having all sorts of problems with how it's not very smooth to get in and out of the United States yet. So it's not just you maple leaf lovers.
All right, well, let's get right to it because, we always have things going on. Keith, how has the ET contact been for you since the last time we talked on this show?
It's been intriguing. They're still debating whether or not mankind is going to pull itself completely apart or finally pull itself together. But the reason there's so much activity right now is because of the socioeconomic impact of this whole fiasco going on right now. And I don't just mean the COVID thing. That's old news. Okay. The standing joke right now is this ongoing war that mankind has still, for all their bravado, not figured out how to have a war effectively. Now, rest assured, I keep trying to tell them, if war worked, they wouldn't have 3 going on in their own communities, to settle differences. War has never brought peace. And I have the same argument with them. That's why I tell people that there is no functional difference between humans and other races. They all have the same complications. They just happen to have better toys.
Very true. Very true. Keith, I want to ask you a couple of things that I interviewed Luis Elizondo about a week and a half ago in regards to the holdup on Earth for disclosing UFOs. And I want to ask you the question because I know you know the ET side of it all, but the human side of it, there's a big argument going on whether or not humanity is ready for any type of contact. There's a lot of people who will speak with bravado and say, yes, we are. But one of the things we learned from Lou Elizondo was that there is a grave concern within the factions at the Pentagon that whether it's economically, religiously, or just being human and paranoid and anxious, that we may not be ready to handle the fact that we are not alone in the universe. What's your thoughts on that?
Absolutely not. You bring one of their biggest concerns is this, and they put it really simple. You guys still get edgy around people that are different color. Picture what's going to happen the moment you see somebody that's a different species altogether. Right? What happens when mankind who has been has grown up believing they're alone? What happens when all of a sudden you've got a lizard walking down the street talking? Okay. And I'm talking bipedal. Right. And this is one of the reasons why when I started writing the Race of the Worlds, and it dawned on me the races in there, I actually utilize a lot of them in the novels. But their biggest complaint or biggest concern is mankind has evolved to believe that, number one, they're alone, that number two, that change is difficult, change is absolutely riddled with fear, with panic, and it hurts like the dickens. And the thing is, it really isn't that hard, but mankind will go into panic. And if you think about it, not only will the economic system collapse, but because of the religious factions that, oddly enough, much as they're all teaching the same thing, will come right apart at the seams is the biggest concern they have. What happens if all of a sudden the Nordics that were walking around here, 7,000 years ago, as gods, what happens if they show up again? And all of a sudden you have, like, the Norse gods. The Norse... Hi.
Did they ever really leave, though? I'm talking to some people about this Norse god-like connection of beings that seem like they are still in contact.
Well,
Possibly represented, but
they are still in contact. What they did was they pulled back and
right.
pulled their, if you will, their public view screen out of the equation.
But you're meaning if let me get my hierarchy correct. If Odin decides to open up the Rainbow Bridge and let all the other kingdoms have access to like Earth, that's
the funny thing. It's not Odin's call.
Right, but that's the term that everybody would pop culturally recognize.
They would recognize him if all of a sudden Thor were to show up here, as Thor was. Okay, people would recognize him. And then all of a sudden your entire religious backbone of the world starts to buckle. Now, picture where that's going to go.
Well, just even if the Big 12 don't show up, just their means of how they got here is mind-blowing enough.
Well, that's the funny part about it. I was actually talking to them about that a long time ago. Right, to a bunch of the ones that were here earlier. I've been around for a while. But no, the biggest concern that the off-worlders have is that mankind's entire culture is based on fear. And it's amazing. You know, they come down in the atmosphere periodically. And a lot of the major superpowers open fire and then go, "Are you friendly?" And they're like, how does that work for a greeting? You know.
Well, I get that, and I understand where you're going with that, Keith. But, you know, humanity, or off-worlders aside, humanity has so many different things going on right now that they're not paying attention to. I'm very curious your thoughts on whether or not the average person who is more interested in staring down at their phone or their $800,000 mortgage and their $60,000 Tesla are ready for anything to do with aliens.
Honestly, in my opinion, from the people I've talked to, no, they're really not. And when I talk about the people I've talked to, I don't just mean the humans I've talked to. I mean the off-worlders. Many of the off-world, many of the people that actually get abducted, that actually get taken as contactees, are brought in. They're brought in, and they still won't pay attention to simple, what they call common sense guidelines. Mankind's curiosity is phenomenal, but you kind of got to give Hollywood credit, because many of the time, much of what you'll see happen, especially in the bigger cities, is if you put aliens on the street, they will think Hollywood pulled off a staggering jump. Right, as far as costume, as far as special effects go. Most of them won't, in all fairness, likely believe it.
What races could survive on Earth in that initial contact?
Well, the Movians clearly could. The Nordics, if they learned to check their ego, would do all right. Arcturons could blend in if they keep their technology in check. Right. There's a number, like, so to speak, one faction of them, also known as Radio Command, which is a group. It's the communication center of the consortium. Some of those people could. When you start including the ancient races, the elfin, well, more to the point, half-elves could. Your hybrid Pleiadians could survive without a problem. Pleiadians, it won't matter. They won't survive anyway.
Damn Pleiadians.
Ones that would... No, they can't breathe Earth's atmosphere. Or more to the point, they can't make contact with Earth's atmosphere. Okay. The Anunnaki wouldn't have a prayer of functioning well in here. Because Earth is built, all the mainstream society is built for people that are 6 feet tall, not 25.
There you go. There you go. We're going to get to the first question of the night. This one comes from Devin. Devin is asking, as we got about 4 minutes, Keith, can we have a potluck with some off-worlders without food poisoning each other?
If you pick the right off-worlders, and actually it could be done. All you got to do is make sure that everybody knows what foods are actually edible, as it were.
I keep hearing that vegetarian, like vegan, vegetable, like those are probably the safest for intergalactic food exchanges. I know these chef things come to me. People tell me that stuff all the time. It's like, yeah, food is nice, but it's got to be like the vegetarian stuff.
I am sorry. If there's an alien out there that is snacking on kale chips and quinoa, I'm out.
Right. No, I mean, this
there are some out there.
Safe thing that they can, function on, not really like pleasure food.
From everything I found, Nick, from everything that I found out from these people, your information could be further off the mark, but I don't know how.
Well, I know there's the big group as well, which I don't like doing the Star Trek comparisons a lot, but I would compare them to like Klingons. That would be all meat all the time, Nothing that doesn't really even matter where that meat comes from or what type of entity.
That's what half your reptilians are like. Is you tell them you have to have only grass, they're going to look at you and go, no problem. We're going to get...
Blue Diamond honey roasted almonds are my love language. Sweet, salty, irresistible. But the crunchy and tangy salt and vinegar also give me the feels. The choice is hard with flavors so good. Blue Diamond almonds, super flavor, all on a superfood.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation? That you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
And we're going to eat just grass. We'll let the herbivores eat the grass, and then we'll eat the herbivores.
Grass-flavored herbivore is still grass, right? On some level.
All right, let's get to John's question here. So we got 2 minutes left. Why would the aliens want to come here, Keith?
Because this is the greatest library of information in the sector. The triple helix used to build this entire system holds more data than anywhere else in the system. This is basically what you would call the Library of Alexandria from the ancient times. Only we're talking on a galactic level.
So do you?
That ultimately is what it boils down to.
Okay. So do you think then that because because we are so eclectic as a race and species, that it's more about that we're on their radar because we're creating all of this energy and light that's booming out and sound, or that we're just a bunch of weirdos?
No, it has to do actually with two factors. Mankind's curiosity and their predilection for instinctively manipulating what humans call zero-point energy. That's what's got their attention. Because right now, mankind is at that turning point where they are going to either unify and get off the planet in one piece, or they're going to detonate and end up, 10,000 years in the past in the way of ability.
Well, I have to bring up the fact that we are also sending golden nudie records out into the corners of intergalactic space. And wasn't that a news feature from today? One of our SOR teammates sent us that. There's a new version of the golden record nude form and the mathematics and all of that that's being transmitted out by NASA.
And apparently they weren't too friendly to the man. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get you guys to hold on right there. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, more of your questions and more of Keith's awesome answers to what's going on with all them aliens hanging around planet Earth. We're also joined by author, researcher, Nicole Sackich. The ET Connection returns on Spaced Out Radio right after this. You write hard.
Can you hear that?
No, I could watch your camera have an epileptic seizure. Every time you
I know,
write.
That's a tech note. That's a tech team note. I've noted it. It's tech team issue number one important issue. There's like 6 number ones. But yeah.
Oh, you use Pythagorean numerology. Eh?
Holy cow. Fapster has arrived finally. I think this might be his first sighting this week. The cryptid.
Watch out.
Hey, the cryptid huntress is in the chat room. She kicks off what? Off the Trails right here every Saturday and Sunday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., right before after hours. Off the Trails with Jessica Jones, Double J, the cryptid huntress. And she will have her Glock sitting right beside her just in case Sasquatch comes in and tries to steal her YouTube time. It's true. It is completely true. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got Lola. How's Lola doing tonight, Joe? And who else is in our chat room here?
Hey, I was actually writing that Golden Nudie Records. That seemed to be a quotable quote from
me
to all you fine folks.
The gorgeous Margie.
You know what the comical part is? The images mankind is sending out are so amateur and outdated. As far as the off-worlders are concerned, mankind's going, here's the best we can do, and they're looking at it going, great. We got another crayon picture from the Solarians.
Well, Keith, what I immediately jumped to was, okay, this is a redressing of the same skeleton in the closet. And as most things I'm finding with that come out to the public as of late, our community's already like at the next step. We have these CE5 groups and these heist groups that are using wonderful research with transmissions and radio transmissions and moonbeam technology. And it's just amazing. They send encoded pictured messages out there and receive transmissions back all the time. So this is work that's being documented and followed and picked up by others, and it's just amazing. So in one way, I'm like, what are they going to make this new dressed up skeleton start to do that? Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Like little shuffle kind of dance again for us, because we need to move it along.
All right, let me finish up roll call here. Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you see Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through the 4th of July. July 5th, you're literally fucked. But 4th of July, you're good. You're good for Uncle Dale's Power Stash. All right, moving on here. Who else is here? Let's catch up. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. By the way, that picture of your granddaughter and those giant cheeks today, damn it, I wanted to reach through my phone and squeeze those. She is so cute. All right, Parasolo, how you doing? Welcome back to the show. And Alien Believers, welcome back. Who else is here? I figured out why Fap hasn't been here in a while. That's because somebody kept the door very, very thin, and he couldn't get the head through the doorway. So we finally had to pry it open a little bit wider for Fap to be able to make his way through. All right. I'm a few questions behind here. Big thank you to Mr. Catfish and Vaughn for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. Remember, folks, Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, and it keeps Nicole Sakic wearing Hawaiian shirts and a We Own the Night hat. That's right.
Actually, this is my psilocybin experiment inspired shirt. It's plant medicine. How about that? Plant medicine inspired.
Plant medicine.
I'm sure they have that in Hawaii.
Your love is like plant medicine.
I think they call that weed.
Plant medicine is what I need. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right.
I think there's every form represented on this shirt, honestly. It's all inclusive.
All right, 10 seconds. 10 seconds, everyone. Don't forget to do your shopping at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Big news around our YouTube channel for everybody listening. We have a new attendee. Yes, the Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, is going to be starting this weekend. And she will run on our YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Pacific to 8 p.m. Pacific, talking all things monsters and remote viewing. And you know what? This is a girl, I swear to God, she played rugby in high school, because I guarantee you that if a Sasquatch crossed her the wrong way, she would totally tackle him down, drop an elbow on him, and then hook the leg for a 3 count. A nice slow rolling 3 count. 1, 2, 3. Jessica Jones, off the trails on Spaced Out Radio's YouTube channel, right before After Hours. All right, let's continue on here. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection are here tonight, along with special guest Nicole Sakic, researcher, author, and wearer of the We Own the Night hat. You can't buy these in stores, people. Anyways, moving on. Keith, we got another question for you. This one from EMF, who's unbelievable. Oh, all right. What is a dead giveaway in spotting said off-worlders on this planet?
There isn't one. How's that for subtle? There are so many variations of them that there is no way. If there were a dead giveaway of spotting them, I shouldn't say there isn't one. The biomagnetic field is a dead giveaway whether they're human or not. The problem is most people can't spot it. But they vibrate at a different rate. And quite frankly, and this is going to sound really bad, but they smell funny. These are all things that you can use to spot them. But
what if you got a hockey nose? Because I don't smell anything, man.
I don't know. I do. I got the super sniffer. So when you say you can smell something that you can't necessarily see, I'm all on it.
There are times when having, as you put it, a hockey nose comes in real handy. Some of these guys you do not want to be around. But no, there is no just absolute guarantee this is how to spot them.
So, do aliens hide in junior high school and middle school boys' locker rooms? If they're stinky.
Not anymore, they do in the staff room.
Well, that's like, I mean, you know how awful middle school smells. Like, it's just that smell. So could aliens, blend in that school environment?
That depends on the alien.
Give it up.
No, I mean, we're talking about about something that is so varied, right, that there is no absolute way of doing it. I mean, quite frankly, some of these races are so small, you'd never see them sitting on your table.
Do they ever do like an intergalactic, like student exchange, like we think about?
Martonians are here all the time.
Right? Do they go like, are they like, I'm going to pretend I'm a teenage human and go through the school experience, or what are they doing while they're pretending?
Sometimes, yes, they'll come down. The thing they don't do is they don't get into major positions of power.
Right.
Okay, if they try and get into a major position of power, the consortium has a very simple solution. They yank them out without warning and usually leave a spare body behind just to say, they leave a simulacrum behind to say the guy died.
Right. I've heard that scenario. I can't say as like full-blown testimony, but in like somebody told me secondhand information type scenarios where it does come to that. It's like whoever is above the visitor is like, okay, your ego just got in the way. You're out.
Well, that's why the Norse gods and the Greek gods got pulled out of here. Mm-hmm. Because they got here before the consortium did, and the mankind stood there and looked at them and go, "Oh, you're gods, let's worship you." And they went, "Okay, free stuff, what the heck?" Until the consortium got here and went, out of the pool.
But then you even find evidence in testimony of like relationships that have had to be rebuilt over like a egomaniac. Yeah. And honestly, here's a fun one for you, Keith. You talked about this group that rips people's arms off.
Well, that's not intentional. It's just they don't understand it. Right.
Well, then I came across some cases where there were scuttles or confrontations, and that happened in this scenario. And yeah, since there's been, and obviously those people that did that are no longer present here, but there has been this rebuilding of this supposed relationship that has been going on since. It's like, Oh,
absolutely. There have been so many contracts that have been broken that that the trust has had to be rebuilt, that it's just absolutely insane.
I will point out that the minor acts of violence aren't reflective of like what's going on in the whole, is what I get, is what I understand. Like you talk about like war isn't the solution. It never leads to peace. It's like there are these pockets of dissent that happen sometimes with trying to negotiate this galactic situation.
Absolutely.
So,
and they don't. The fact of the matter is, they don't. The consortium does not look at the conflicts and go, "There's a representation of the human race." But because the human race, like so many other races, has been raised to believe that the governments are the ones you follow. Okay, because of that minority leadership problem, that's where the holdup comes in. They're not looking down on the entire race, aside from the fact they're in orbit.
I've never been able to find out what has precursed the scenario to the arms coming off in that situation either. It's like, I don't know if there were weapons drawn on them. There's always more to that story. But
I've seen it happen where it was purely an accident.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it literally happen where all he did was try to shake hands.
Well, that might make a little sense too. It's like, those early situations where you don't know the dynamics at play. It's like when I accidentally popped my Barbie doll's head off for the first time. It's like,
yeah, it's like, oops. You should have seen when the Sea Elves first started taking the people down to their world to try and communicate. Because they had the elfin race at the bottom of the sea had no understanding of humans variable there. So they grab them and take them into the ocean and head for their world. Well, that worked out really well for the first 20 feet.
Well,
guess what that means?
That means Keith is going to have to take a break here as his phone rings again. Hey, that's what happens when you're on the working shift. He works hard for his money, so hard for it, honey.
I think they called so we'd quit talking about them ripping people's arms off on accident. They're like, yo, man, we just got past that. Don't bring it up again.
Right? That's
you never know. He doesn't just counsel humans.
Oh, I know. I totally know. I get that. It's one thing, though, Nicole, to sit here and have these conversations about ETs, and, we want to have fun with them. We want to be able to bring them on back, and I think Keith is ready to come back. That was a quick call there, Keith.
Oh, they were just checking numbers.
There you go. So, Keith, let's get to Vaughn's question here. What aliens consume humans, or is this even an issue to fear?
Ultimately, it's not really one to fear, but most of the reptilians will consume human if it's on the table. But it's not something you have to worry about because it's actually forbidden. The only time it gets that they end up doing that is if the guy up and dies. Most of the time, they just vanish. But there's a lot of different races that will quite happily. The Spear Knocked In are another race that will eat human without even thinking about it. Okay, but again, the consortium has very definitive laws against doing that. And it's really neat because, what they do is if one of the off-worlders does deliberately consume a human against protocol, they get terminated.
Are there humans that work alongside reptilians?
Absolutely. On Earth.
What's that capacity of the humans? What's that working relationship like?
Depends on the actual facility, but usually it's on a pretty equal level, with the strengths and weaknesses of both being taken into consideration. In other words, there's still tension in a lot of cases, regardless of the amount of training that goes on. But usually they try and work it as an equal setup, where safety becomes the first thing. Like where some of the reptilian races, Cirzazians specifically, I can tell you, if they take a human up to work with them on their ship, there are places that a human is not allowed to go only because of one little detail. They'll end up dead.
Right.
You don't go inside one of their reactors and expect to live through it.
So I guess it would be quite a shock to find out 1,000 years from now that humans collaborated with a species that may or may not eat humans.
Absolutely.
As long as they follow protocol. I look at this as like the rise of the chickens, and then it's like.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations, so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com. Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations, so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
I
like Attack of the
ate us
Killer
for 1,000 years or forever. So,
see, I personally enjoyed Attack
how
of
you
the
see
Killer
that as a problem? Like, you would think that would be in the baseline negotiations of we are now working together. You cannot eat us.
Well, let me ask you this, and humans are just an example of it.
Right.
How many times are laws passed that humans are told you cannot do that? And some individual totally disregards and goes and does it anyway.
Exactly. I mean, we still have cannibals that show up in our timeline of
civilized area.
I mean, yeah.
Let's get to another question here. Chris Moe in Austria would like to know, did the consortium make a copy of this world somewhere? Safety first.
In a manner of speaking, not the way she's referring to from at least I think it's a she. It may not be. I don't know. Not in the way that's being inferred. It's not like there is a duplicate Earth that's built that they go and play on. They do, however, build what you might consider movie sets to practice interacting with fragile humans. It is amazing how much training some of these races get when dealing with humans. You know, because the fact of the matter is, the human body is a very delicate body. You know, it's very easy to break. Simple to repair, but it's very easy to break. So they actually go through rather extensive training before they get the opportunity to do anything.
Makes sense. Makes big time sense. Okay, let's get to another question here. This one from Uncle Dale and his power stash. You never know who's asking the question. Is Elon Musk an alien?
Well, that one I'm not even going. I'm just going to tell you flat out, I will never answer a question like that. And it's got nothing to do with him being Elon Musk. I don't see him any better than I see anybody else. I just refuse to identify who I can see as aliens, as hybrids. That's for them to come out and deal with. But I can tell you this. Because he's in such a positive power, I wouldn't bet my life savings on it simply because of the fact that it's actually forbidden from their end to move into a position of power. Like I was saying earlier, if somebody tries to get into that kind of a position, they will be found, well, they may not be found dead. They'll simply vanish off the map. No, Elon, as far as I've understood, is simply somebody with one heck of a brain. And I don't know about the wisdom thing, but definitely one heck of a brain.
All right, let's
Can I throw him on that?
Go ahead.
I'll say that it doesn't really matter who you are or what position you hold. This phenomenon can be tricky sometimes, and people might not even realize that they're inspired by it or things like that. You know, a lot of us overlook those things, but Elon Musk does amazing things with that amazing mind that he has, whether you agree with all of it or not. So that's something exciting. You know, I think he's definitely tuned in and sees the world in a different way. So that is something special, although sometimes scary.
That I would absolutely agree with there, Nick.
Thanks.
You've got a staggering mind.
Thanks. I think the phenomenon gave it to me.
Let's go to Joe here. Do aliens have pets? Do they sometimes get loose?
Yep. Chupacabra would be an obvious example. Some of them have pets that are just phenomenal. Another one that is kind of fun to watch is your octopi.
I think
octopi.
Disney made that like little inspirational movie with that little one that got loose and then ended up in Hawaii, you know.
Oh, you're thinking what the heck was it now? The little six-legged thingy.
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes he had six. But no, that was cute. And so, I mean, I don't know. Is that like a thread of, realities converging?
Well, I don't know about converging, but there are a number of producers that absolutely know what's going on, and therefore some of the races that they show you on movies are absolutely on the money.
Right. Is that to slow drip acceptance? You know what I mean?
No, it's natural socioeconomic interaction.
Right. Or to slow drip information.
It's not intentionally. That would be like saying, you remember Jane Goodall when she went out to live with the gorillas.
Mm-hmm.
Was it her intention to influence the gorillas? No. Did they come to interact with her? Certainly.
Right. It's like that. Yeah. It's like when they find primates fishing or building fishing rods, but yet like it doesn't span their whole like all the primates in the area. It's like they've learned that behavior. But I guess it ties in with what I said about Elon. It's like there's always this constant wheel or flow of inspiration and what's going to trickle through to some sort of acceptance of this phenomenon. Because isn't that what it is at the end? Like we have to have this oneness together.
You think, number one, you're right there. And that's way more complicated than you might think. But ultimately, that is correct. But mankind has always been inspired. Well, never mind mankind. All civilizations have inevitably been inspired by the natural occurrences around them and by the different species it ran into.
Mm-hmm.
That's
awesome.
We got 4 minutes to go here before we have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection with special guest Nicole Sackich as well. Let's get to Uncle Dale and his power stash here. Are any human body parts considered delicacies by other races?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can tell you one right off the bat is the actual core of the cerebral cortex. For some races, that is the ultimate in a delicacy, because by consuming it, it's not that they pull a person's soul or anything like that. It's nothing as silly as that. What they do is they pull all the information that is stored in their DNA. And that means their memories, their whatever knowledge base they've got, the whole 9 yards. Now, like fluids are...
It's like a CPU.
Essentially, yes.
That's delicious, apparently.
Well, a little salty for some people, but...
Okay. Makes sense. Let's run with it.
Well, you've heard of finger food before. Where do you think they got the term?
No. Not where that comes from at all.
Okay.
Gotta call you on that one.
2 minutes here. Doug Shelby has a question. Does humanity have a representative in the consortium?
The answer to that would be not the way he's referring. Not the way he's inferring. And the reason they don't is because the people that have representatives in the consortium, the races that are represented, are unified worlds. Mankind does not have a unified world. And therefore, until that happens, they won't have a representative in the consortium itself. They have consultants that they will deal with and try and work through things. But until mankind actually unifies, and that, by the way, does not mean have one person sitting at the head of the government. It means a world where the governments actually talk to each other. When you have a unified world, that's when the consortium opens the door and says, okay, you can now be an active member.
I hope it's a woman.
Is there ongoing negotiation? The answer is yes.
Makes sense. Makes very good sense. Okay, Nicole, you got a comment?
I just said, I hope it's a woman. The first one.
Why?
I don't know. Just that whole dualisticness of womanness. I think it would be
absolutely 100% off track. Male and female have the same interactive capability.
Mm-hmm.
And when people figure that one out, they'll be better off. They do not differentiate between humans, because what people don't realize with humans, and the humans are missing this one, females created the backbone of society. Males turned around and took credit for it and then screwed it up. But that being said, not all females have that capacity to think.
Neither do men. I've met both.
Well, bye.
All right.
And I haven't found the functional difference.
And on that note, we're through 1 hour. We got 1 hour more of the ET Connection with our Keith Andrews and special guest Nicole Sackage. When we return, it'll be more of your questions here on the Mighty SOR. Yep, we never know where the woo train is going. Sometimes it's full woo. Sometimes it's full woo ahead. Sometimes it's peak woo, max woo, super max woo. And we're still getting going with 1 hour left on Spaced Out Radio with our Keith Andrews. All right.
Ultra woo.
Dave will be right back.
Ultra mega woo. Nicole's going to be right back too.
Okay, okay. It makes three of us pretty quick. Well, it got quiet around here real quick. You know, I try not to. There are certain areas that it gets really dangerous, really difficult. And some of these topics I will be dealing with because I have my own YouTube channel, and I am going live now on Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. PST, and Sunday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. PST. I end up starting off with the same topic on both days because there's people on both sides of the world. And then of course I've got my YouTube channel itself that I've had running now for, where are we? We're in May, so 14 months. So a lot of the more complicated questions. The one thing I will tell the people that are listening, if I don't get to answer your question, before the end of the show, absolutely drop me a line. If you can't find and of course, if you look me up on Facebook, you look me up on YouTube, or worst case scenario, talk to Dave and he'll put you in touch with me. Okay. If you don't get an answer to your question, absolutely drop me a line and I will do my best to give you an answer. I won't guarantee you'll like the answer. Okay. But the other thing, I was just, where was it there? Snacks asked a question where I get my information. Okay, my information is firsthand. Not only because of the amount of time that I've spent in and out of this planet, or in and out of Earth, or out of orbit on this lifetime, but because I've got past lives that date back way further, and these are past lives that other people have corroborated for me. Okay, and they usually end up corroborating them without actually knowing they're corroborating them. The funny part about it is, some of my outlooks, I made a mistake probably a couple of years back now, I don't know. Somebody asked a question on air, and I'm not known for being exactly the subtlest person, but somebody asked me a question on air of why they should believe what I say. And the reality is, I answered it in a very unprofessional fashion, but it was honest. The reality is I'm not asking people to believe what I say. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you point blank, do your own research. But there is so much information out there that is, in my opinion, there are critical mistakes that people are making, critical oversights.
That's how I track down your arm ripper offers. I didn't not believe you, but then, I started coming across this too. So that's a good one to point out for,
Well, I appreciate the
and do your own work. I know I jumped in as like the voice of the booming circle right now. So
I see that.
Hello.
I'll be right back.
I'm Dave.
Hello, Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave's beard. Rub some moose oil on that.
I will later. My hair's looking tight right now. We got 1 minute, guys.
Not a problem.
1 minute.
Honestly, I just have this tune that's stuck in my head. And maybe it's because it has actually been raining for the last 3 days here. But it's the alert. Love to feel the rain on my face in the summertime. Rain in the summertime. It's like, love to feel the rain on my face. It's so hard to sing. I lose my voice when I wail it, though.
See, I learned a long time ago I don't sing for a reason.
Oh, well, that's why you got to do it.
No, I remember being took a former girlfriend to a singing audition. And we're sitting there waiting, and somebody came by. Somebody was coming down, and she comes in the room. She goes, I don't understand why I've got an audition. I've been singing for years. I've been on stage. I've had people in tears. I looked at the woman, and I says, I've had that effect on people, too.
All right, guys, hold on. We got about 15 seconds. Big thank you to Noble Patrick, Vaughn, and Catfish for the amazing super chats. Very much appreciate it. Do me a favor, put your questions in capital letters for Keith. It's much easier for me to read.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Valete. Valete is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, where Keith comes in once a month to talk about all things aboard the Woo Train. Joining us as well, Nicole Sackich, researcher and author of Everything UFO. And Keith, we're going to start with a question from Obi here, and that is, does humanity have an arch nemesis besides ourselves?
I love the way you put that. I mean, the fact beside ourselves, technically the answer is no, because they don't target just humans. But Xenons they're definitively a problem. If they ever get here in force, mankind is in serious trouble. Now, apparently there's a group of humans that are actually working, unbeknownst to the humans, they're working in tandem with them. The Xenons are literally robotic. They pattern their bodies after other organic organisms. Right, and they literally build them to look like them. But rest assured, they've got way more. They're very easy to spot because they look robotic. They do not look like Data off of Star Trek. They don't even try to blend in. But the reason I say they would be called an arch enemy is because if you're organic, they're interested in wiping you out. Now, I'm personally thinking this is not good public relations.
How do they interact with organics when they have to?
Fatally.
Do they have like sleeper cells of something though that,
No, they'll just come in and wipe you out. They won't even bother trying to hide they're here. If they get here, nobody's going to be questioning, are we under attack? And unlike, if you take a look at Ghostbusters, right? Ghostbusters 2 with the ooze and the jumping toaster, not even close to the way they operate. They will simply come in and they will bomb the place from orbit and then come down.
Is this like, let me think about this. Is this an
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Hey, C-Spire country, who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C-Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.
Evolution of some form of AI gone wild.
Oh, no. I mean, humans would chalk it up to AI. But right. You got to understand that these things were simply another organic form that evolved and took on its own outlook. Okay. But you got to realize that these guys, when we're talking about the evolution here, we are talking about subquantum evolution. Whereas instead of taking on a flesh and blood component, they took on solid metal. And some of those metals are so dense, they're not even on the human periodic table.
All right, let's move on to another question here. Marty would like to know, is there more than one hybrid program? What is the end purpose?
Well, definitely more than one. Ultimately, the hybridization program was designed, the one that was perfected by the Zeta Reticulans, was designed to grow cultural interpreters. That was the whole backbone of it. Some of the hybrid programs from other races have been designed for the same purpose. Some have been used have been used on other planets or even on this one to simply understand the way that humans operate. But before anybody jumps into that idea too terribly far about alien sleeper cells, aliens aren't that sophisticated. Mankind does that quite nicely, all on its own. But the aliens, this is why I keep telling people, do not worry about an alien invasion. Because if an alien invasion is going to take place, it's going to be over before anybody even knows it's starting.
What about hybrids and super soldiers? Or is that part of the human hybridization program or like an ET-based one?
That's the human-based one. The off-worlders have a very strict directive.
Are there do off-worlders help humans with that initiation, or is that just
with the super soldier program? No. They ended up accidentally working with it because there was a contract in existence decades back where the off-worlders were working with humans, and therefore there was an exchange of the DNA. But the agreement was no weapons tech, no combat orientation. They were strictly supposed to work with communication techniques and medical. Humans took that DNA and modified it to use in some people in their own super soldier programs. The moment that was done, the contract was severed.
Right.
Okay, and that's where you were talking about things being rebuilt and trust having to be reestablished.
Yeah, there's all these nuances that kind of go hand in hand. Thanks for I'm probing deep tonight, R. Keith. Thanks, and thanks, Dave. You're letting me go there.
Hey, we bring the woo. We bring the woo here. D. Cohen is wondering, do ETs have a code that we can follow? If so, do they have like a Jedi code?
The Jedi code, ironically enough, is actually if you follow the actual code, it's actually a decent code. But most of when we're talking about the code they follow, quite frankly, they work primarily with only 3 laws. Okay. And those 3, if you take a look at all the laws mankind works with, they fit inside those 3. And we call them the karmic laws. Okay, and it applies to them as well. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Now take a look at every law, every guideline in everywhere on the planet. And from my experience thus far, I've never found a law that doesn't fit in those 3. So they are governed by the same laws that mankind was given to follow. But like mankind, they don't exactly follow them all that well.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to another question. Uncle Dale would like to know, are there any races in business with private industry?
There are some aliens and some individuals that will work with private industry, but the reality is not in the way of making major impact. You may have a hybrid pushing a broom in a fast food restaurant. You may even have one owning a fast food restaurant. But in answer to the issue of is there technology being transferred to and from, the funny part there is what mankind sees as state-of-the-art technology. The reason that they take the information is not because mankind is incredibly advanced. It's to find out how far they have come and just exactly whether or not their wisdom has climbed with it. The off-worlders are not interested in stopping technological advancement. but they are concerned with mankind's predilection to try to kill each other. That their weapon capability, the technological advancement, and their terraforming technologies may be being utilized in a very self-destructive, very ineffective fashion. But no, there is no government that I'm aware of that is getting any sort of technology from the off-worlders in the way of combat capability.
All right, let's move on here to another question. The unknown would like to know, the Tarantuloid beings, how dangerous are they to mankind, and do they do abductions?
Now, I'm not entirely certain which, by the sounds of that, I know a lot of the races by a different name. Okay. I can tell you my first instinct says, are they dangerous to mankind? Tick them off, the answer is yes. But are they heading out for it? No. Okay. There is no doubt that they do abductions as well. But to really look into it, that's the first time I've ever heard the term Tarantuloid. So a little bit more information on what exactly that they are or what their traits are. I may have the information on them and just not know them by that name.
Are they physical abductions or conscious abductions? And I've heard tarantuloids, but I've also heard like a variation on that of like tarantulas, maybe. So have you ever?
We are dealing with arachnid based.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I figured. And I appreciate the clarification there. The arachnid appearing ones that I've run into, as a matter of fact, let me just take a quick peek at that.
I'm honestly not sure if my clarification was a full clarification. I don't have my notes on that here in front of me, but yeah, I just got kicked back to where I've heard that before myself, and
yeah. No, the race you're referring to, I came in contact with knowing them as the Taurians. Okay. And are they a threat to mankind? Take them off. They probably will be. But they're not naturally predisposed to be that way.
Right. I heard this is on the peaceful list. They're on like the peaceful encounters list.
Yeah. Now, nice part about them is they have an ongoing conflict with the Talons. Talons are an ant-based people that also work with web. But are they, do they perform abductions and what have you? Number one, the answer is yes. Number two, there are very few races that actually pull an astral abduction. Most of them deal with human.
This is a night filled with synchronicities. I was just talking about these like 7-foot ant beings that visit, and you get waves of emotions from them, like pure family love and like these overwhelming happy things. But then when you kind of really pay attention to what they're doing in your space, it's like very randomly odd stuff that is ant-like. But I have a friend who has this giant one that comes into her, and he's always raiding like her snack cabinet.
Well, they do have a rather high requirement for sugar intake, so.
But she's never reported it as like a bad experience. Like she gets hit with this, like I said, it's not like romantic love or anything sexual. It's this overwhelming, like, oh, familial, which you hear with insectoid visitations a lot. It's like this love feeling. But then, yeah, you pay attention to what they're doing. I think one time she said it was like he was just hanging out in the corner, like, what's up? Like eating something, of course. It's like he's always eating something.
Reminds me of the movie Paul, sitting in the corner and just kind of hanging on something going, what's
I
up?
don't know. That's a nuance too. But That was my inspiration movie that I watched over and over again for Vegas 2022. I was like,
Right.
I'm in the desert, sitting in that stool, alien highway. Here I come.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Nikki would like to know, why do some ET races work with humans who have a form of military mentality?
The humans have the form of military mentality, or the ETs do?
I would assume the humans.
Because military mentality, first and foremost, is an organized thought line. Okay, it is an organized thought line. And that would be why. The conquest-oriented military, the only reason for working with them is to try to tone them down a little and help them realize overthrowing the government next door by blowing it up doesn't work. It works temporarily, but it does not work in the long run. But the fact that many of the military, and I think it's the American military, that has a saying that goes, and I'm paraphrasing, but that goes, the difficult we're already doing, the impossible just takes us a little longer. And that's the reason they look at some of the military, because they got this idea of we can do it.
I'll throw in, it's also supreme organization and its simplest terms, structure in the military is just infamous. It's copied through a lot of things. Kitchens used to have full battalions of chefs. It's like it's structure and organization and flow of information and that kind of unit, It's you take away the warring aspects of it.
Yeah, if you can get the people that are bent on destroying each other out of the control positions, the military is a fantastic organization on any country.
Right. I mean, there's even, I'm thinking of these networks that go into third world countries to get resources and things like that. They're all kind of organized like a little military. So it does get things done.
All right. Want to move on? We got 5 minutes left before we need to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Vaughn is wanting to know, Keith, are any benevolent races working with humans to overthrow current governments?
Zero. It is absolutely against their protocol. It is against their guidelines altogether. Okay. From their standpoint, human governments have to, as humans, figure out how to cooperate with each other and it's got to be I forget what the term is, but it's got to be a natural thing that the humans figure out before the humans will become a full member of the consortium. It's not something that can be forced. Understand, if an off-worlder were going to overthrow a government, they would blow up the city that the primary residency, that the primary government was housed in, and the secondary and tertiary locations. Then they would simply take over if they really wanted to go that route.
Chris Mo in Austria wants to know, will ufology bring this world together?
It's a nice unifying point. I question whether it'll work, but it is a good point to stand behind because it's something that every country deals with. And none of them have a way of stopping it.
I think the word is phenomenology, Will, not just ufology.
I can work with it.
Yep.
Me too. What the hell? Sherry is wondering, Keith, is the consortium watching Vladimir Putin regarding his threats of nuclear weapons?
Absolutely. And if society decides to go back to what they did years ago and light up all the silos, they'll shut them down again. An individual nuclear bomb they won't worry about. But if it becomes a global threat of nuclear war, of global nuclear war, then they'll shut them down. Which means, if you look at the downside of that, Putin fires off a nuclear warhead. One city gets taken out. That means he gets first strike. But if everybody else starts firing up their nukes, the off-worlders are coming and go, bad kids, no nukes. You can throw rocks, but you're not getting the warheads.
Plain and simple.
Well, the thing is, the consortium is here to make sure to back up ITSA, to back up the Caboran that we're living on,
okay,
and protect her. Humans are not the issue. Humans are simply listed because they are the dominant surface-dwelling, technologically advanced race on Earth. They are supposed to be the caretakers.
Gotcha. Okay, we got 90 seconds. Alien Believers wants to know, are Masons helping aliens in our world to stay in power over man?
No. Masons have their own issue, but the aliens don't want. Understand, the aliens are not interested in keeping the Masons or any other group, in power. So the aliens aren't doing that at all, are they? Are some of the Masons in contact with the aliens? Wouldn't be a surprise.
All right, let's sneak another one in here from IHAS. We got 1 minute. Why are all the alleged alien races so close to beings from Earth regarding appearance? Isn't that quite strange?
Actually, no. The thing is that the reason you usually see ones that are bipedal is because the human brain has trouble wrapping its mind around the idea of an alien interaction to start with. Once you throw in multi-limbed individuals, or you take a look at the Corlocks, which they're full-blown metamorphs. The human brain is conditioned so strongly over the centuries to fear all of it that you'd have to deal with that abject fear to start with before you could ever make any headway.
And on that note, Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Nicole, hold on as well. Don't know what you're going to hold on to. Just wait. How about that? All right. The ET Connection with our Keith Andrews and Nicole Sackich comes back. And when we return from the break, we'll take more audience questions and see where it goes from there. It's a big night in UFOs today. We're going to get all to it. Right around the corner, hour number 3, Swamp Dweller and the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Yes, a busy second half of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. All right, chat room, I am about 20 minutes behind you guys right now. About 20 minutes behind. So give me a little bit of a break. Hi, Jurassic Joey. Hi, Corruption Czar. Sovereign Farts. How you doing? Who else is here? As I burp into my microphone.
I think it's my fault, chat room. I keep breaking in with Keith asides. I apologize.
Oh, you're allowed. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. How you doing, man? And who else is here? Downshift, nice to see you. And G West, thank you so much for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciated. That's how far back. Okay, now I'm only 15 minutes back. Let's see, who else is here? Schlagaboga Yo Mama. Welcome to SOR chat. Let's see here. Who else is here? Hi, Dirty Filth. Dave remembers everybody. At least he tries to. The lovely Bell. Terry Brown, how are you? All right. Andy Jones, good to see you. Tewaz, what's happening? Hey, God's Big Toe on Twitch.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation? That you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations, so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Hey, C Spire country, who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.
How you doing, buddy? Welcome. Welcome to the show, man. The lovely Tracy. God's Big Toe is a... Am I allowed to say? Am I allowed to say? I guess so, because you're public. Professional poker player in Las Vegas. I want this guy to take me to the table and absolutely kick my ass. That way I can learn off of him. Absolutely. That would be awesome. Too bad
you do realize he can kick your tail feathers if he doesn't take you to the table.
I know. Scrub-a-dub-dub, welcome back to the show. Who else is here? Let's see here. The gorgeous Tracy. Welcome. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Cashew Gazuntite, what's happening, man? Where you been hiding? And let's see here. Yeah, there we go. If you guys want to learn how to play poker the proper way, go on to Twitch, sign up, or YouTube, sign up for God's Big Toe. Incredible poker player. Incredible. Plays professionally. And if you're like me, an extreme amateur who loves the game and panics at the table, this is the dude who will teach you. Just watch his channel. Watch him play. Listen to what he says. I've already learned some really cool tips. Really cool. Mama Susan, I swear I did not miss you. Chili B7, what's happening? Good morning to you. Hey, that was some nice language there your son just used there, Keith.
Yeah, better go and clear that up, eh?
Go drop an elbow. We got 1 minute, man. Here he goes. Here he goes. Look at this.
I'm back.
Hi, Nicole.
I'm almost back.
What's happening?
Status check on the mini carbon unit.
Mm-hmm.
Still awake.
I did not miss you. And B, I did not miss you right off the top of the show. Swear to God. Is there any video from the conference you had in Vegas? Yes, on our YouTube channel. There's a 3.5 hours of it. 3.5 hours. 2 weeks ago today already, Nicole. Hard to believe.
I know, it's awful. I want to post all my pictures because I miss it so bad. And I'm like,
you should.
Did I miss the thunder?
No. Big thank you to G. West, D. Cohen, Noble Patrick, Vaughn, and Mr. Catfish for the amazing super chats. And here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Keith comes on in at least once a month to hang on out and talk all the woo we can handle. Yeah, all the woo we can handle. Also joining us tonight, one of our favorite researchers, authors. She's part of the Spaced Out Radio team as well, Nicole Sakic. We're going to get right to the questions here, Keith. Sovereign Farts wants to know, Keith, you mentioned before that we're lucky we haven't burned to death yet. Does the Galactic Consortium or the reptilians kill us off via fire by lasers every so often? If so, why? Because we get smart? Oh, hold on, Keith. I got you on mute here. There we go.
That doesn't work well. Okay. I only know of one time when they actually did wipe out part of a civilization with fire. And that was several thousand years ago. But the answer on the whole is no, they don't. Mankind does a phenomenal job of doing that all on its own. But, I mean, a lot of the forest fires, from what I understand, 99% of them are just, that's the way the atmosphere works. But, while mankind has been playing around with HAARP, while they've been trying to figure out how it works, have they undoubtedly set off a number of them accidentally, or possibly intentionally? Yeah. But the consortium itself doesn't. And the way you know this, okay, is one time I know that they did it, they didn't just light a forest fire. They leave the forest fires alone because the forest, the Arborians and SOR itself are not the problem. If the off-worlders were going to light something on fire, they would pick a major city and they would burn it to a crisp right from the ground. They'd burn it right to the ground.
You said HAARP correctly. Is that an acronym for something?
I don't know what it actually stands for, but it happens to be a government thing. It's the first generation terraformer.
Gotcha. That was a golden nugget right there. Golden nugget.
All right. YouTube account wants to know, I have O negative blood. Does this mean I have alien DNA? It's why I'm so awesome?
Now, I think the ego is what makes you awesome. But the blood is just another type of blood. You know, the blood type in corporeals doesn't have any functional bearing except determining when they are striving to do a test on that specific blood type. But it in and of itself is not alien DNA.
Well, there you go. Just right there. Boom. Not alien DNA. Not a big fan of it. All right.
Is it more like a better antenna? Is that a way of describing it?
Have you ever noticed when you buy, like when you go and get a car, you never see the car, that type of car, until you buy one. Okay. And then all of a sudden you see them all over the place. It's the same idea with blood type. It doesn't make any difference unless they're looking for instance, O-type blood. It's not like it shows up as a big issue.
Gotcha.
All right, let's move on here. Cindy wants to know, can you confirm Inanna was Anunnaki?
Well, not knowing who Inanna was, the answer to that confirmation issue would be no.
Plain and simple. That's why he's the best right there. Just hammers down those answers. Hammers them down. Noble Patrick wants to know, do you have any alien artifacts in your home?
I have a piece. It's not an alien artifact, as in technologically speaking. Let's see if it's here. Just looking to see if I can spot where it is easily. I have a piece of moldavite, which is from outer space. Only I don't see the box that it belongs in.
How did you receive this, Keith? Was it apported to you, or?
Oh no! Somebody went over to Czechoslovakia, went to the meteor impact point where they're not supposed to take anything, picked it up, and this was decades back. Picked it up, brought it home, turned it over to a good friend of mine who subsequently brought it to me.
Gotcha.
So it didn't.
It wound up in your hands.
Ultimately, yes. The other artifact, and the other piece that I've got that I wouldn't call it an artifact. I've got a magnifying lens that came into my possession in a very twisted fashion. But again, if we're talking about alien technology, as in what people understand as technology, the answer is no. Am I watching for it? Certainly.
All right.
Have I seen the neat thing I found with it, though, is if you take the right crystals, you can actually get a better energy source than mankind uses today.
All right, let's move on here on Spaced Out Radio. G. West is asking, have any of the alien civilizations mentioned a Thanos type of being that is super powerful throughout the universe?
Oh, there are beings that powerful. Usually they chalk them up to really powerful people, like really gifted people with a bad attitude. Okay. I mean, for instance, now the Thanos personality, you're talking about Thanos himself, as far as I understand, is not even based on a real individual. Okay. A great show, don't get me wrong. But the mentality and the technology levels, absolutely, they've talked about. The stones that you're talking that are talked about in that whole genre, in that whole storyline, are very real. What they are is highly advanced programmed crystals. And yeah, the power capable of being contained within a crystal is way beyond what humans think. But if you're worried about somebody like Galactus, do your best not to.
Brown Dwarf is wondering, are Greys or any other type of ETs programmable life forms?
The moment you put programmable in there, you take life form out of the equation. Okay, but every corporeal, every creature with a cell structure and with a subquantum cell structure can be taught, aka programmed. Humans are programmed consistently by humans. Okay, but presumably he's referring to something like, as in, pick up a program, plug it into the person, and away you go. Okay, the closest thing you'd come to there would be the Xenon, which are they're robotic, but they are not programmed as in, let's build a program as people understand them. As for the ET, as for the Greys themselves, absolutely not. They are fully corporeal and they are not dying. Okay, this concept that they're making photocopies of themselves and they're collapsing because of it, way out in left field. Although it does make for an interesting bedtime story.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Let's continue on here. Snacks wants to know, do any of the ETs take recreational drugs?
Absolutely. Some of them take not so much recreational drugs. You name the concept. I mean, some of them drink like fish and are not fish themselves. But you name the human fallacy or the human weakness, if you will. There are aliens from most of the races that have the same kinds of complications. This is why I say, the off-worlders and the ancient races are not really that much different from humans, except in their toys and their appearance.
Did they teach us about beer? Because, you go back so far in, like, the civilization of humans, and all of us spread across the globe, like, learned about beer, and wine later on, but it really did start with beer and bread and fermenting. So it's like...
Wasn't the aliens, it was the off-worlders.
Right.
And it's a mythological group that people think are just a myth. Little guys, 4 feet tall, big beards, broad-shouldered, temperament like they discovered and perfected the whole idea of making alcoholic consumption. Most of their food is fermented.
It's honestly awesome. I love this about beer. It's honestly awesome because it was a staple linked with bread making and fermenting. And it was like, it was alcoholic, but it was a clean water supply. You didn't have to worry about getting disease from your drinking water. So, I mean, no, it really honestly like boosted civilizations around the globe just when they figured out how to raise a glass.
God bless them.
Mix the hops.
God bless them. All right, let's move on to another question. Vaughn is wondering, Talons, Keith, as in the show Earth Final Conflict?
I think I'm trying to remember which ones the Talons from that group were. I haven't seen the Earth's Final Conflict in a very long time.
All right.
But is there any race coming in to wipe out Earth? No.
All right. Lucy would like to know, are there any humanoid species out there beyond Earth?
Yes. The Mobians actually colonized Mobius from Earth. So the Mobians are, in fact, Earthlings. Originally, but we are talking several thousand years ago. Other than that, mankind does have colonies, does have outposts on multiple planets. But they're not spread across the star system yet.
Think about all that beer out there in the galaxy and beyond. It's a lot of breweries.
Right. There is, but understand, we use hops and what have you here.
Right.
That isn't all that is used for fermenting.
Oh no! I know. There's some food love and chemistry going into all those brew houses across the planet.
Yeah, you really don't want to know where some of that brew goes to get.
I don't ask. I just serve it at the restaurant at the end of the universe.
All right, let's continue on. As Tracy wants to know, is there a connection between Bigfoot and aliens?
Technically, the answer is yes. Bigfoot itself is Bigfoot. Okay, and this one Dave and I have argued over forever and a day, I think.
You're wrong.
But Bigfoot itself, as near as I can piece together, is Gigantopithecus. However, the Wara are a race that looks extremely like Bigfoot, but is highly aggressive. Right. And they are aliens. But Bigfoot itself is from Earth.
Sure it is, Keith. Sure it is.
Hey, wait. There's always a back door to those comments. This Earth, in this reality dimension, or in all Earth dimensions, to where the man with the big feet can just slide in and out or between. Like, come on, clarify that.
Have you ever seen natural camouflage at its finest?
Yeah, we were talking about that in Vegas.
That's what the Sasquatch does.
There you go.
They do not jump dimensions. But they have been around for an extremely long time and have figured out how to hide, in case you couldn't tell.
We might have to merge some theories here, but that's all right. This is what we do on Spaced Out Radio. Bring governments together, bring Bigfoot and ET research together, contact. All right here, Spaced Out Radio.
All right. Corruption Czar wants to know, why would space aliens have treaties with governments?
It's so much better than taking over the planet if you're trying to study them. Humans haven't figured out you learn more by talking than you do by overthrowing. So they come into the area and they go, okay, here is a society that is on the verge of either uniting or decimating itself and blowing itself back to pre-Stone Age. And rest assured, we have a massive EMP pulse here. Most of what mankind knows will go the way of the dodo bird. Because most of it is on here right now. Okay, of the advanced stuff. But that's why the treaties were set up. It was to learn about humans and to figure out how they were evolving.
That was such a nice thought. It's kind of like the kids that lose half of what they learn on summer break. You know, it's like we never retain as much as we truly learn, but then we move along like we're big know-it-alls. So,
yeah, I've noticed.
Excellent. I'm still scrolling for more questions here, but I will ask in the meantime, as we got about 6.5 minutes left, Keith, in any type of disclosure, are we going to see a major UFO event over, say, the next 5 to 30 years where all of a sudden they're just going to arrive and that's it?
It wouldn't be a shock. It won't be. I doubt very much you will see this idea of them making some sort of grand entrance and going, look at me, we're here. It will more than likely, if it comes up that way, and you're probably looking at closer to 50 years, especially with the way that society is going right now. Right, it will likely be something like a Moldakian ship, the big stadium ship showing up in one location, likely out in the middle of, what do they call it, international waters. Right, where nobody's got a dominant claim to it.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Hey, C-Spire country, who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C-Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.
All right. Sovereign wants to know, is this Sarsaurian synonymous with Khazarians? Many believe the Khazarians are the reptilian hybrids attempting to install a totalitarian world order. What's your thoughts on this?
The Khazarians, I'd need to know more about their race, but as far as the Srazazians stepping in and trying to install a totalitarian world order, not at all. Okay, a totalitarian world order will not create world unity. It will, by its own definition, create world chaos. And the off-worlders do not want this. Besides that, the Srazazians have their own situations on their own homeworld. They already went through that when the Drakes had to cut them off. At the same time, they cut off the Tormenon. They cut off the Srazazians and the Tormenon at the same time because they had expanded too fast, and the Srazazians were left fend for themselves. They're not about to start that here. But Srazazians are allies of humans.
Nicole?
No, I'm going with that. Nothing's floated in. I mean, I know I'm Sovereign Cosmic. It's probably hard to spell these names. It's really hard. So I think there's something lost in the Achu as Azarians and Kazanarians. Like these, we all use the words wrong anyways.
Quite often. But I mean, I'd love to hear what the basic background of the Khazarian are, because I may simply know them from a different name.
I don't know.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
I've dropped my hair down. Down with 3 minutes to go here on the ET Connection with our Keith Andrews and special guest Nicole Sakic. And Keith, as we start to wind this down here, there's a lot of people out there who will listen to this type of show and they will say, wow, that is just off the rails. But for many of the people like yourself who live in this environment every single day, how do you come to grips with the fact that, you see people walking around every day and really having no clue what's going on up in the sky?
From my standpoint, that's easy. I mean, first of all, I look at my own life and go, wow, what I'm talking about is right off the rails. I just had enough confirmation from other people to go, okay. But what does not make sense to me, what I find more confusing, is how diametrically opposed people can be on topics that are the same. Right? Where they can go on one side of a conflict amongst humans and go, this is okay. But this one that literally applies to the same thing, it's not okay. People are not being taught how to think, and I don't mean taught what to think, I mean how. That's the confusing part from my standpoint.
Let me throw in that the best of us, we don't claim to have any of it really figured out, but we do come out of our own experiences with this knowing. And then there's the best of us, like our Keith, that shares this with us. And it doesn't matter if you buy into the story part of it. When you look at the messages that come through about working together and taking care of your planet, that's the ring of comparison that you start to see with experiencers. It's never that anybody's background story is going to fit perfectly with somebody else's. We're all stuck in this timelessness of experiencing it for ourselves. So we have to look for those little tiny common threads. And that's part of my job, I guess.
Very true. Keith, 45 seconds. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Easiest way to find me is R. Keith Andrews on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn and Twitter. You look at any of my videos, it gives you a whole bunch of ways of getting a hold of me.
And right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Obviously, you can find me here because I think Dave will tell you where to find me.
Yeah, I usually do. Keith, always a pleasure to have you on here. Much love to you, my friend.
Thank you very much.
And Nicole,
appreciate it.
If you want to stick around for the unbiased UFO report, that would be kind of cool. Because I know.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I know you'll be awake anyways.
I know.
Coming up next, we have the Swamp Dweller, then the fedora-wearing John Hudson, joins us for the Unbiased UFO Report. Huge news coming out of Canada and UFOs. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, R. Keith.
Thank you so much.
Handsome as
Appreciate
ever. I'm not used to you in full beard mode.
I love it.
It's okay. I haven't gotten around to shaving yet.
And see, Joe, this is why I need the extra space so I can have these dynamic arm gestures. It's a lot of, certain genetic heritage that I have. We talk with our hands. We got to flap them around as we get excited. I mean, it's a lot of them. I'm a mutt. I can't claim to be some one thing over the other, honestly. So,
to be frank, Nick, I have not found. I don't think there is a single corporeal on this planet that is only one nationality anymore.
Right. Define corporeal for me.
Human.
Okay,
gotcha. For that.
Meat suit. That's what I've just settled with meat suit. We're all here in this consciousness meat suit.
Funny thing is, people are getting so caught up in stupid things, and I've avoided a lot of them. I'm starting to tangle with some of them now on my live feeds and on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Some of the ones before I wasn't going to get involved in, but it seems I have to at this point.
This is reminding me of a little bit of a text conversation that I've had rolling for the last couple weeks. I've brought up this fact that I'm like the last of the Gen Xers that can be counted as a Gen Xer. And it bleeds through in so much of this ufology where it's like, we can't exactly put a label on something because, it's just unsatisfactory on so many levels.
Well, people complicated things. I mean, I'm from the tail end of what they call the baby boomers.
Yep.
Right.
I know you're like the beginning of Gen Xers in a way. There's always like the end that crosses over, and then there's the beginning that also crosses over. And these half little Jenners, which is, I was born in 1980.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you. I was born in 63.
Right. But I think you started it off like Gen Xers kind of start around 70. So you're kind of like caught in the crosshairs. So,
yeah, see, the funny part about it is when I got tested, I was born in 63, so it would have been 1981. They did a maturity test on me and found that I was thinking like an 82-year-old then. I was so far ahead of the thought process of the people in my own age bracket that I just couldn't connect with them at all.
Do you keep all these records of stuff like that?
Here. I am starting to record a lot.
Yeah.
And many of the ideas that I've got, many of the little tools I work with, I do put into print. Like I get this one here. No, not that one. This one here is literally the backbone. That one there is the backbone of how I took my life and turned it completely backwards to what it was.
There's always that moment too.
That one's called Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. And that is where I put the backbone of how I changed the way I was looking at my own life to turn it around and deal with this issue that my life is more science fiction than anything else.
That's how we roll with the high strangeness. You just accept it at some point. I'll be right back.
No problem. Hey, Fedora John, if you're out there wondering where the hell the link is, I just realized that I hadn't sent you the link yet for some stupid reason. I was late on getting the link to you guys as well.
Yeah, you were. But, what the heck?
Yeah. Keith, well, say goodnight to you, my friend. And
absolutely.
thank you for being awesome and being with us.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to catch up with you sometime in the near future outside of the show for a couple of things, but
I'll have time next. Call me Thursday during the day.
Okay, that I can do. I'm just going to mark that down.
Yeah, anytime after about 10 a.m.
Okay. Shall do. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
Bye, Keith.
We'll talk to you soon.
Have
buddy.
a good one, Nick.
Our Keith Andrews, everybody. The ET Connection. We love Keith around here. Hey, Strangeland, how you doing, man? And, yeah, we got a busy show here. Great Florida man story to end the week. That's the way we always want to end it, with a nice Florida man. All right.
I'm going to be Florida woman at the end of this month, Dave.
Right, well,
just FYI.
Are you going to Florida?
Booked the beach house last week. A surprise.
Nice.
Haven't told anybody yet.
Nice. Lunar Tina, how are you? Sweet Tony D in the UK, how are you, man? All right, we got 20 seconds. Big thank you to G West, D Cohen, Noble Patrick, Vaughn, and Catfish for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much for the love and support. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Valete. Valete is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller has another spooky story for us.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. This is a true camping story that occurred 20 years ago in Mount Charleston outside of Las Vegas, Nevada in October. My wife and I had just adopted a Husky/German Shepherd mixed breed dog that we named Bear. This dog was wild looking and we decided to go camping to bond with our new canine companion at our favorite area to camp and hike. The next day we packed the Scout International with food and our camping gear, and our dog Bear. We drove up to the mountains, arriving near Cougar Ridge Trail off of Deer Creek Highway at around 1600 hours, and hiked around looking for a good spot to set up camp. We hiked up to the cliff, about 10 minutes away. From there, we parked the Scout, with Bear following us. When we decided to hike down the side of the cliff, we figured Bear would follow us, but he did not. We shouted his name for a few times. Then, suddenly, at the top of the 30-foot cliff we just came down the side of, we saw a bear just standing there looking at us. He just looked there looking over the edge. Then he disappeared. Less than 3 or 4 seconds later, he came flying off the cliff like Superman, landing on our feet and skidding past us down the mountain. He hit a large, fallen tree with his face, instantly stopping him. We examined him, poured water in his mouth, and amazingly, he survived jumping off this 30-foot cliff without any major injuries, and only had a little bit of blood in his mouth from the rocks hitting his face. We had enough excitement, and could tell the sun was about to set. So we decided to look for a good spot to pitch our tent and set up camp. We hiked over the next ridge away from the cliff when we found a small flat 15-foot clearing in the middle of a group of trees. After setting up our tent, we made a fire to prepare hot dogs for dinner. It was a cool, clear night, and it started to get cold fast, so we let the fire die down and went into our tent with Bear. I'm not sure how it happened, but somehow we got on topic of demons as we laid there talking. A short while later, we both felt like it was time to talk about something else because we were getting kind of creeped out. As we laid there silently, it got eerily quiet. It was so quiet we could not hear a sound for a few minutes. Then Bear started to growl, followed by an intense whimpering and loud barking. Suddenly, it felt like a force was shaking our tent from every direction simultaneously. We did not know what was happening. The violent shaking went off for what felt like at least a minute. Bear was barking his head off, and we were both sitting up in our sleeping bags, completely petrified. As soon as the shaking stopped, I climbed out of my sleeping bag, grabbed a knife and unzipped the tent, just far enough to peek outside. I was amazed to see no one was there, and the sounds of the night were back. We both immediately grabbed our flashlights and put Bear at a leash and unzipped the tent all the way. We quickly climbed out of the tent and bolted down the side of the mountain, completing like a 10-minute hike in less than 5 minutes. Arriving back to where the Scout was parked, leaving our tent and gear on the ridge, we then drove to another area near Lee Canyon Road, parked the Scout, and the three of us slept in the back of the Scout with the seat down and huddled together for warmth. As soon as the sun came up at 0700 hours, we drove back to our original parking spot and silently hiked back to our campsite on the ridge to retrieve our gear before driving back to Las Vegas. We never went camping together again in Mount Charleston or spoke of the incident. Sadly, the week after our camping trip, our dog Bear ran away from home, and we never saw him again. This story just happened, so it's very fresh in my mind. The date was Canada Day 2019, and what I'm about to share with you just happened this weekend. I have a camping spot that I go to about 10 kilometers up Jump River where it meets the Nanaimo River. This special little spot is accessible by foot, but it takes you about an hour to reach it from the parking lot. Often, I take my motorbike up there and camp in the most majestic spots. Now, for those who don't know where it is located, it is on the southern portion of Vancouver Island, the largest island off the Pacific America. Yes, in Canada. Vancouver Island is relatively underpopulated for its size, and our native brothers and sisters have always had a very strong cultural relationship to the wild man of the woods, as the Sasquatch are called sometimes, and was something to be feared and avoided at all costs as it was deeply woven into history here as bad omens. What happened to me last night is one of the most unbelievable experiences I have ever encountered. As I was getting into my hammock after cooking steaks and watching stars all by my lonesome, I was fumbling with my flashlight, and I thought I saw what appeared to be a giant face in a tree about 15 feet away. I suddenly stopped and cleared my eyes, and focused in disbelief at what I was seeing. It was clear as the brightness of my flashlight, a giant face in the tree. Almost the very second that I had made eye contact with this thing, simultaneously, a giant rock or large object was thrown into the river not even 30 feet in the other direction from my hammock. It took all of my strength, but I refused to look away from the face that appeared to be about 9 feet tall and blended in with the forest around it. Sploosh! Another rock gets thrown into the river, making a huge distraction. It worked, and I broke eye contact with the face and looked towards the river in the darkness to see. Of course, no evidence. So I quickly returned my gaze to the tree in question, and that's when my heart dropped from my ribcage. The face that had been clearly visible seconds before had completely vanished, but what was more alarming was that so was the entire tree. Any evidence of what I was sure I was looking at had disappeared. It was then that I became aware of whatever it was. It wasn't alone. Its friend had noticed that I had noticed it and tried to distract me. That was the objective of the 2 loud rocks thrown in the river at 1 a.m. This terrified me. I was now 10 kilometers past the last mailbox and deep in the forest and was suddenly filled with dread that I was not actually alone. I slept with my rifle in my hammock that night, with the safety on. I have always heard of these stories and feel confused as now I actually have to continue to explore more on this subject. It seems that these beings are something left over from the Great Flood.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Yep, I'm still here. Those knit holiday stockings you said you'd finish. But 'tis not the season anymore. I've tried to stay holly and jolly, but oh, holy night! Is that no-dose? 200 milligrams of caffeine? Are you getting out the yarn? It's a Yuletide miracle.
No-dose. Today is the day. Shop No-Dose at Amazon.com.
Of Noah. I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced they have good intentions just yet. I will keep the swamp updated if I encounter anything new.
Oh, I know exactly where that happened. Exactly. Did you know I started my radio career in Parksville, Qualicum Beach, and Nanaimo, where this guy had this incident? And I can tell you, there's some beautiful landscape around there, and it's not surprising that it happened. Not surprising that it happened at all.
Majestic.
Oh, yeah. Vancouver Island, beautiful place to visit, highly underpopulated, and I would never live there again.
So
ever.
Did he pull up the tree? What was he gonna do with the tree? Just carried it through the woods?
I don't know.
He's gonna use it as a baseball bat and
we have to wait for an update from Swamp Dweller. That's exactly
whack a human,
whack-a-human Whack-a-human time. All right, we say thank you to Swamp Dweller for coming on in with another great spooky story as we play Swamp Dweller each and every night on this show. You can go follow him. He's got thousands of stories at Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube. One of the best out there. We love it while he's here. But you know what? We're going to continue on here because it's Fedora time. There he is, ladies and gentlemen. The fedora-wearing John Hudson. It's actually hard to believe he's wearing a red shirt today. It's not the famous black-on-black combination. Fedora, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Dave. How about you, man?
I am doing fantastic. Nicole decided to stick around because, we're bored, so we're hanging on out together. Well, we're not really bored.
I am not bored. This is so exciting. It's keeping me from sleeping. Yeah. That's not bored.
Well, you know what? Very busy day in the UFO world today. And we're going to start off, John, with some Canadian news.
I don't know, man. That's like the 51st state. Like, what's the big deal?
No.
Go ahead.
No. We're 2-0 against you, buddy. 2-0.
Oh.
Okay? You had your chance twice. You lost both times. Now, we may not have won a Stanley Cup since 1993, since the Gary Bettman era took over NHL, but history shows we're 2-0.
And we beat you with Canadians. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. I know. Sigh.
It's like those humans that are helping the reptilians.
That's all right. My Edmonton Oilers are going to make a major run this year. Major run. And my two guests with me tonight couldn't even find Edmonton on a map. But that's okay. We love them dearly. The Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
It's in Alberta.
Where?
It's all I got. Barely across the border. Like,
I think Alberta,
3 hours.
Alberta's the only place I haven't been to, I think.
North of Idaho.
That's Calgary.
I'm just throwing out locations,
I know.
honestly.
I know.
Just random.
I know. Sweet NB.
Hey, we're throwing out random places. Did you know there's actually a Chihuahua, Mexico?
Yes.
It's a real place.
There was actually UFO sightings there. And
they don't make Chihuahuas there anymore, though. They exported that to Texas.
There are wild herds of Chihuahua around Chihuahua, though.
Oh, really? They didn't tell me that. That's cool.
There's also a giant gold mine there. I've actually been told that, and this is a little stock option for you, little stock tip, that according to the Motley Fools, that this place is about to explode for the next 10 years of gold mining in Chihuahua. And it would be a good time to invest in that.
You know what's, well, boy, man, I wonder what's going to happen because I don't want to sideline for too far, but I got to admit, like I said before, I've been to a lot of countries. I have never in my life seen vastly different economic scales right next to each other with absolutely no lines at all. And it's actually a really insane place. I mean, lovely people, but it's really not stable. I mean, it's really crazy.
South America, is that what you're saying?
Mexico.
Well, specifically Chihuahua, not all of South America. There's lots of places that are actually doing really, really well. But Chihuahua itself, it was like, I've never seen, I leave like this 5-star hotel with like all this stuff. And then you go and there's like no street lights, no sidewalks, no running water.
Yep.
It's just crazy,
That's on the nose. That's the same experience I had.
Yeah, yeah, it's nutty. But beautiful people, a beautiful place.
They all want to come here. And I want him to.
Want to give a shout out quickly to my cousin in Las Vegas who looks like Bob Vila's twin. He's watching tonight. How you doing, Bob Vila? Nice to have you here.
He was fun.
All right, let's get to some UFO talk, John. Start off with the Canadian news.
Yes. Well, I actually heard that you had something to do with it, so I figured that you were going to be the one breaking it. I was all excited to be the one interviewing you for once.
Okay, I'll take that bet. So Daniel Otis, who is a freelance writer for Vice Magazine, also works for CTV News, tipped me off last night that there was going to be a big story coming out of CTV News on UFOs. And believe it or not, this actually got airplay across Canada on their newscast.
Now, is this someone who had shared news with you previously?
Yes.
Were you considered a reliable person for them?
I hope so.
That's all? Go, please.
If I'm not reliable, holy cow. So, anyways, here's the big news. Right before the DIA's UFO report came out last June 25th. On the 21st of that month, former Canadian Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan was read in on UFOs. Now, this is all tying to what is Canada's role? Is it happening here? Are we taking the report seriously through the military, through NAV Canada, through other aviation areas in Canada? And it is still not known as of yet whether or not Prime Minister Trudeau has been read in. I do believe he was back in 2019 when former ambassador to Washington, D.C. was briefed and came back to Canada to brief in the Prime Minister. But the big news is this has finally hit mainstream media. Now, I do have some information that I can share on this. Number one, my sources tell me Lou Elizondo is one of the ones who gave the briefing. Now, if you recall, a week ago when Elizondo was on this show, what did he say, Nicole?
You were the one that hooked up the people that needed to hear the briefing. Or which part? Or
That
he
part.
said he was
That
stepping away to make things happen.
Well, considering we were just talking Canada, I would think that the Canadian portion was probably the most important part of that.
Right. He didn't name your source, though, and he said that you'd been setting on this for a long time, like working this happening. So it was just so perfect that you could bring these two worlds together. So
now, I did talk to somebody in Ottawa today, and this was their quote. I'm going to leave. This is my source in Ottawa. I'm going to leave their name out of it. This person says, I will tell you as soon as I chat with him, because I'm trying to get an interview with a Canadian politician for the beginning of June regarding this. We now have an official party position on this, which is great. It's not the flashiest of quotes, but getting our shadow minister to state that the government's objective should be identifying the origins and intent of these UAP is a green light for us to call on the government to get to work and do whatever is necessary to make this a reality, which now means there's a good chance that if the Conservative Party of Canada plays their cards right, they may bring this up in the House of Commons, which means that's going to be in front of all the Canadians who are watching, all mainstream media outlets, and Canada has officially opened the doors on UFOs. Now, I was talking to a source. We are working very diligently right now as Spaced Out Radio to do the follow-up on this major story that has happened. And I have, for one of my sources, literally scared the hell out of him today when I posed 31 questions to this person. And if he comes back and says, hey, I'm going to answer these, I will give his name, and we will go from there. But we're going to write up a story. That story, once we write it up, once we get the information, it's going to take hopefully less than a week. We're going to write up that story with all the information and really blow the top off of this Canadian story about UAP. And if we get that, we know that we have a publication in the United Kingdom that wants to pick that up. I'm going to be tipping off some of my journalist friends regarding this across Canada, and we're going to run with it. So,
and
that's how it goes.
There's so many angles to this that can be explored. I mean, just from a very simple point of view of, I think what a lot of us want to know is that with Canada being such an adjacent physical and both culturally and government-wise, partner, how much of what Canada holds are they just holding because of things they did on our behalf, right? Things that we requested they do. And then how much of what they have has been generated by their own research, right? And then, honestly, the third part, which is how much of it have they just bumbled into, right? And then, why are they taking it seriously? Are they taking it seriously because they believe it they should be, or are they really just taking it seriously because we are, right? And where do those lines fall? And to me, that is just one of 16 different angles you could take with this story that I think is going to produce some very interesting stuff.
Well, go ahead.
I like the angle that your defense minister received his briefing in June 2021. So, I mean...
See, and I was tipped off that that's not the first time he's been debriefed on this.
Right. Well, that's the first where we've seen it trickle out into public.
Absolutely.
Well, that also means that his second briefing was deeper. Right, or at least it was more verbose.
Well,
because there'd be no reason to do a second. There's a lot of work involved in doing a briefing, right? So
it falls in suit with a lot of work over the decades with, and even reading behind the lines with what the Canadian government does and doesn't do. And their biggest give is they never say anything about anything for so long. And then it came out with Rakowski that there has been this lifeline, working handshake agreement with Rakowski over the decades. And I mean, then that goes all the way back to the Wilbert Smith days. So,
and Rakowski
it's not like
actually sat in on the SCU meetings with the government and Hal Puthoff. I'm going to get you guys to hold on right here because we are going to continue this conversation and other UFO topics with the fedora-wearing John Hudson, co-host tonight, Nicole Sakich, and myself, Dave Scott. The hair is down, the gloves are off. It's hockey playoff time. What better way than to talk UFOs with my friend right here and my friend down here, and we're all good. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. We're clear? This is good stuff, people. Good stuff.
I feel like Grant's here in spirit with us, like, talk about Wilbert Smith.
That's all Grant wants to talk about is Wilbert Smith.
Not really. He wrote a book on it already, so.
I know.
He's over it. He's moved on. Grant's at the forefront,
Fedora, what's going on? Are you playing video games or what?
I'm just thinking because it's so interesting because I don't know how much of this I should talk about, but to me it's fascinating because there's so many unknown links between the two countries where a lot of communication goes on and partnerships are there and there's a lot of support going back and forth. And some of those relationships are extremely high level. And so I have a really hard time believing that there aren't large elements of the Canadian government that didn't need to be read in. They were completely up to speed with several aspects of the program and had been for some time.
Well, I mean, the problem is, from what we're learning, Canada doesn't have a, how do you put it here? They don't have a woo desk. So the research is done by NAV Canada. It's done by the Transportation Safety Board, the RCMP, the military, CSIS, and other groups all at once. And it's like, in my opinion, they're throwing papers this way, that way, in every direction in order to kind of make it somewhat, that they're in the game when they don't even know if they're in the game. Me personally, one of the questions I asked to my source is a Canadian government very naive or obtuse on this subject? And anytime I get to use the word obtuse, I'm going to use it. And I'm in a waiting game right now.
Well, and the thing is that they very well could be, because the thing is that some of the reasons why you guys might know certain things might be slight side effects due to other sharing that goes on. And so you take, like, just for example, signals intelligence, right? The SIGINT folks in Canada and the US get along pretty well. And there's some tight relationships there. And so, and now they are not, contrary to what people think, those guys aren't necessarily interested in like specific content of a specific line, right? That's not how they typically work. But you can still like see that there would be a relationship there that would certainly facilitate a fair amount of knowledge transfer and might even require it under certain circumstances. But that wouldn't necessarily trickle down or up to any other group, because it would only be the SIGTEL guys that are in on it.
Maybe.
I think that scenario makes sense when you overlay the relationships and bonds that were formed between governments in World War II and post. And then, everybody talks about our relationship with England, dragging us into that conflict. But things that really solidified that alliance was governments related to England, like Canada. And so when you overlay
a lot of money
that dynamic with now climate, it's like Dave said, they don't have a woo desk or a weird desk, but they have this network already in place that coincides with ours, just based on, things like Reagan put in place. So, that's the avenue I chase with this. Because, the Canadians are probably just as compartmentalized as any faction in our own United States government. So we don't know what we have with our own network.
Yep. No.
All right,
so
guys.
True, so true.
10 seconds. Big thank you to G West, D Cohen, Noble Patrick Vaughn, and Catfish. Excuse me. Here we go with the final half hour. We passed, let's just say the final half-hour point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're going till the top of the hour talking woo and how it affects you, because that's what we do around here on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott, and we got the fedora-wearing John Hudson and Nicole Sackich here with us tonight. Before we bring them on in, we want to remind everybody that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Yes, the Unbiased UFO Report continuing here tonight. And our good friends John Hudson, Nicole Sackich with us. We're talking about the Canadian story here, that it has been finally announced that Canada's defense minister, the former defense minister Harjit Sajjan, was read in on the UFOs, potentially by Luis Elizondo. And that happened in 2021 of June, and it happened.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations, so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Take care of your property with equipment you can count on, like the Kubota BX and LO1 Series compact tractors, part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup, rated #1 for reliability, and Z-Series mowers and Sidekick utility vehicles, where durability meets speed. Visit your local Kubota dealer for a demo today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit GoKubota.com for a dealer near you.
Happened just days prior to the United States government and the DIA releasing their preliminary UFO report on June 25th of that year. Quite coincidental, John, that it happened within 4 days.
Well, and it just dawned on me that it's also super curious that why Elizondo did it. I mean, I understand why Elizondo was the contact from you guys setting it all up. That makes sense to me. But as far as being the one to actually deliver the I'm just surprised that he was the one that delivered the message, because at that point in his history, he wasn't working, officially for the federal government. He was, contracting and so forth. And so I'm just kind of surprised that he was the one that did it,
what he was doing on unidentified, though.
Yeah, very, very true. Very, very true. Yeah, no, very, very, very true. Very, very true.
Look at who he met with, just in Italy. That makes sense to me, too. So,
well, it's going to be easy to see how this plays out. I know Spaced Out Radio is going to have a big part of this. At least we should. If nobody jumps in and steals my source, that's what it comes down to. Because my other people know who my sources are. I just don't give them up. And other people will be like, "Oh, well, old Frank over there, he was telling me." I'm like, "Oh God, shut up, Frank." And that's just the way journalism works. It's just the way it works.
It's like when Grant and I break certain stuff, there's always that somebody who's like, "Shh, you're going to ruin it." And it's like,
oh, yeah. I understand that whatsoever. What else you got for us tonight there, Fedora?
Well, there is this very interesting story of this high-resolution image that has come out from the Institute of essentially a geographic national for Costa Rica. And this is essentially a picture that was reportedly taken on the 4th of September in 1971. We actually have a fair amount of information about who took the picture, what kind of plane they were flying, altitudes, time. There's actually a phenomenal amount of information available for it. And then there is the photo. And I gotta be honest, I struggle with this one, and for no reasons at all than just my probably completely misplaced gut instincts, which it would not be the first time. I don't know. I know what it is. The angle that the ground is at in relation to the camera, to me, is very different than the angle that the saucer is flying at. If the saucer is flying perpendicular to the land, then it might not be as easy to identify. And so it almost looks to me like someone intentionally tilted it in a weird way just to make it look more obvious. And that's unfortunately but the thing is that there's a very, very good chance that this is actually a completely authentic photograph, because there is a lot of information on it. And, what I'm saying right now is basically what most people do on Twitter, which is just shoot from their gut. Right. So, But I'm just basically explaining, looking at it, it's like, I don't know, to me, it's not, it doesn't have the wow of some of the other photographs I've seen, because for me, I pretty quickly go to questioning this one.
Okay, well, give us the background on this so we can form our own opinion here.
Oh yeah. So essentially, at 10,000 feet, the aerial photographer Sergio Lorenzi, I believe, activated his 100-pound map-making camera. At 20-second intervals, the camera shot images of the water in the rainforest in high-resolution black and white. None of the occupants were aware that there was anything taken. It was eventually, after pulling the negatives out to study for potential ways of connecting the lake with nearby rivers, someone saw on frame 300 this image. It has a timestamp of about 8:25 in the morning, and based on everything else in the photograph and their known variables, because of the nature of the way they were taking film, they can say within reason that the object was between 120 and 220 feet in diameter, which is actually still a pretty big range of unknown when you get down to it.
What year was this?
This was filmed, taken in 1971. Now, it should be interesting to note that if I read this right, looks like over the years the image has been analyzed by several people, including Dr. Jacques Vallée.
Right.
They all concluded that the image in the photograph appeared real and was not the result of double exposure or deliberate fabrication. And it wasn't just Jacques Vallée; it was also Dr. Richard Haynes, they appear to stand in front of it. So the perfect example of what I'm talking about. My gut, possibly gave me very bad information.
I believe another interesting side note to that anthology of people who believe in this photo is I believe this photo hangs on Leslie Kean's wall in her house. And it also has popped up in the work that James Fox has done for his Phenomenon film.
Was this the alleged photo that was hanging in Nick Pope's office too?
No. That's a completely different photo. That one's not a UFO. It's not.
Well, it's probably a hair pick.
I wish it was.
If that was the one that I'm presuming that I just spoke of, it's been so authenticated. It's held in such high regard as being a true photo. And it is kind of like you said, the really real ones always kind of surprise people and look a little fake. So
very, very often, because it's very clear. You can really see it. And it's such a classic cliche shape, it's like
now
like,
it is
not even
but when it was taken it is not
fair, but that almost doesn't lend the credit. You know what I'm saying? Like okay, so then it's it was set up for the right time period, you know what I mean? Like to me, like the designs should, I don't know, like to me UFO styles shouldn't go out of style to us. Like to me, like their story arc trajectories, I don't know. That part's just always frustrated me. The whole idea that there are like old looking UFOs.
Well,
it's a beautiful picture.
It is. We're going to continue on here with the unbiased UFO report with the fedora wearing John Hudson. What else you got for us tonight, my friend?
Well, let's see. There were some other articles that you sent me here, so let's see what we got here. So the Costa Rica one was definitely something very, very, very interesting. The resolution of that Costa Rica picture, is certainly it's certainly pretty crazy. But essentially, completely shifting gears. There is a kind of more entertaining and perhaps one might argue more hopeful and more positive sort of story, and that is that there appear to be some openings. For those of us that consider ourselves to be helpful in the field, maybe we want to be checking this out. Basically, these are positions in the AOIMSG, and I'm going to have to say it like that for a little while longer, because otherwise I'm going to mess it up. But these are actually positions within that organization, including, and these are these are not like low-level roles. This one is for a collection lead, but it's at a grade GS-15. A GS-15 is like, that's what Lou was. That's not a low place to be by any means whatsoever. And so I'm kind of surprised by that. But essentially, you can read into it, and that's not the only position that they have posted. There's actually there's the data collection, and there's also a one for a senior analyst lead, and another one for I don't know. I can't help but giggle over this, because to me I love it when weird stories like the Phenomenon brush into really mundane aspects of society. like, just like really like just like dry cleaning type stuff, like this, and that's essentially what this looks like to me. Because this is all infrastructure, right? I mean, this is all.
Well, what's the position,
trying
man?
to fill roles.
You're
Say again?
teasing us. What's the position opening?
Yeah.
Well, no, I said what they were.
Is it a chef?
One of them's a collection
Is it a
lead.
chef's position? I'll go cook in their cafeteria.
One is a collection lead. One is a senior analyst lead. One is a there was one other one that got seen, and there's a couple. There's other positions posted, but and the thing is, it's not to say it's not fair to poke fun completely, because if you read the positions, this is actually exactly what I would be hiring for if I was trying to build out that team, right? I mean, they're not shooting for the wrong fish, sort of a thing, right? It's just more just funny that here we're all talking about all of it, and then you find out that they're like, yeah, and it's serious, and we have open recs, and we have to fill them, and it sucks because we're gonna have to do reviews and like normal stuff, and it's like, yeah, normal life, kind of funny.
We've all seen Goodwill Hunting.
I'm going to tell you right now, if I were to submit a resume to this, all I would put on there is woo. That's it. I know I'm getting hired right there, because they're going to call me in. They're going to say, what the hell's with this resume, man? All you got on there is woo? And I'll say, that's all you need. I am the captain of the woo train. Let's roll, baby. Let's roll.
Good luck with that.
And I'm going to put woo and can cook. Done.
Well, honestly,
they're taking my app over yours.
Honestly, Nicole, with any time you have a group that does field work,
they all need to
having someone on the team that can actually cook is a far more valuable asset than most people come to realize. That's a real selling feature.
Casey Ryback says it all. I love Steven Seagal movies. Casey Ryback. And all great adventures have chefs.
I'm telling you right now that if Canada gets its own woo desk, I'm going for it. I am going for it. There is no bloody way that if Canada gets a woo desk, and I'm going to submit the resume, I will show each and every one of our listeners my cover letter towards my resume.
Hey, we have to beef up the clearance side of our resumes, I think. Just a little bit.
They don't, no one, joins thinking, I'm going to run the weird desk, right? Like, the people that run the weird desk probably got sent there because they did something wrong. Right? I mean, they were probably sent there because
John, only if you do.
They're in trouble, right? I mean, it's like that's not going to be a position that's going to necessarily be good
you're
for your
made
career,
for
right?
the woo desk. You're made for the woo desk.
You're made for the woo desk.
I mean, I can't even.
Just like
I can't even imagine.
Had to do the X-Files, like they were made for the X-Files. You're made for the woo desk.
We'll get into that later in the After Hours show after we go off the air tonight. But first, it's time to get to Shirky Poo's news.
There we go.
All right, what has Shirky Poo got for us tonight? Start off in the UK. A couple who won £3.6 million on the lottery have decided that they have now figured out their next career path. Laura Hoyle, who's 40, and Kurt Stevens, who's 38, thought they had just won a fiver when they Set for Life draw was made last March. Instead, they scooped up £10,000 a month for the next 30 years after matching all 6 numbers. But it's not just a new house, lavish holidays, and fine dining for the Nottingham couple. Nope. This is how they are spending their next 10 plus years, or 30 years. They're going to be ghost hunters. It's true. They've said, screw it, we're millionaires. We're going to go find some ghosts now. Laura says, Kirk and I are participating in lots more paranormal activities, and I'm editing the videos we take, which I absolutely love doing. I'm getting better and better at editing, and the other month, one of our videos was voted by a top ghost hunting YouTuber, one of his videos of the week. It's as if I'm getting paid to video edit for the next 30 years. Without the win, we wouldn't just have been able to tick off a huge bucket list item, visiting the National Justice Museum in Nottingham out of hours and spending time there investigating. There have been many trips, and there will be many, many more. I love it. I love these guys. We got to get them on the show. We got to get them on the show.
Very Bigelow-ish of them.
Very Bigelow-ish. All right.
I love it.
Well, from going from a great story like that to this kind of a crappy story, literally.
Oh, there's always a balance.
Yeah. Upper East Side condo building in Manhattan, where units sell in excess of millions upon millions of dollars, is suing an 83-year-old female resident. Why? Because apparently she dropped a deuce in the pool. Yeah, the management of the Rio allege in a lawsuit filed in New York State Supreme Court that Helen Hirsch defecated in the fitness center's pool and then again in the fitness center's shower. They say as a result, the condominium was forced to shut down the fitness center's pool so it could be properly sanitized and to take the fitness center's shower out of use so that it could be cleaned and disinfected. The lawsuit also alleges that Hirsch screams and makes loud noises while using the gym and the pool, and has used the gym equipment in a wet bathing suit and failed to shower before the pool. Oh, the pity of this first world problem. Subsequently, she was banned from those areas, but the lawsuit alleges she's guilty of now pooping in the pool and the shower. Now, apparently there's lots of evidence, and she's like, no, I've never done this. Do they even have evidence? This is ridiculous. I was a doctor before, she added. Maybe I'm getting old. You know what? Talk about, I'm just going to say it. Some people, when they get up in age, they can't control their bowels. And you're going to take this lady to court over that? It's terrible. Terrible. It just shows what jerks people can be.
Might be ageism.
This never happens to me, though. Maybe it happens to you. Never happens to me. Texas antiques dealer bought a bust for $35 from a thrift store, only to later learn it's a 2,000-year-old Roman relic. Lori Young said she was out shopping at Goodwill in Dawson 2018 when she spotted the $34.99 price tag on the bust. The head was on the floor under a display table. It definitely looked old. It was carved marble. Young bought the 52-pound bust, brought it home, snapping photos of the statue, riding in the back seat of her car. She later learned and discovered it was a Julio Claudian era piece depicting Roman commander Nero Claudius Drusus Germanicus, also known as Drusus Germanicus or Drusus the Elder. Probably the coolest thing I'm ever going to find, Young says. The most special, I hit the lottery here. There's no word on what it's actually worth. And finally tonight, a man arrested by police in Florida attempted to give out a fake name, but opted for his fake name to be Tyler Durden. Clearly, he forgot the first rule of Fake Name Club, which is try to make it a little bit more believable. The 44-year-old was pulled over in Dunedin during a traffic stop where police found a 9mm handgun, ammunition, and a trafficking amount of drugs in his car. Discovering the firearm and drugs, which included heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and Xanax, police officers asked the man his name, and he drops a Tyler Durden from the 1999 flick Fight Club, portrayed by Brad Pitt. That's never going to work. It's never going to work at all. Thank you to Cole Sackage and John Hudson for the UFO report. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the incredible news, even the poopy stuff. And, of course, Swamp Dweller for another amazing couple of stories from the swamp. And our guest tonight, our Keith Andrews, with the E.T. Connection. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we own the night.
Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Going on vacation is the best, but planning a vacation, that you can certainly do without. So book a trip with Apple Vacations to Breathless Resorts and Spas. Whether you're looking for an all-inclusive couples retreat to the Caribbean or a family vacation, you can count on us to find a trip you and your family will love. Apple Vacations has over 50 years of providing stress-free vacations, so you can relax and make memories. Visit applevacations.com to plan your perfect vacation today. That's applevacations.com.
Hey, C-Spire country, who's ready to do a little speeding? Because with our blazing fast nationwide 5G powering phones and supercharging your scrolling and streaming, Slow left these parts a long time ago. Now the best network anywhere is actually right here. So welcome to C-Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps faster.
Moms, treat yourself to the best 5G smartphones on us with trade-in on any Everybody deal plan. 5G not available in all areas. Capable device required. See cspire.com for details.